And right now, after the All-Star break, with about 25 games left, it is appropriate. Let's now take a look at the odds. Joel Embiid, Jokic, Giannis. Then there's some distance between Steph and Ja. Mr. Rose, when you look at the stats of the top three, they are very comparable. Some get more assists, some get more rebounds. They all get around the same amount of points. Right now, who do you have as your favorite to win the most valuable player?
Today, I'll give the edge to Joel Embiid. And like I've said these last couple of years, while wing players and their versatility help drive a lot of what happens on an NBA team and the dynamics of what plays out on the floor, and point guards and lead guards are dominant with the ball, I've been on the phone with an archaeologist because the big man is back. Giannis, MVP 2 years ago. Finals MVP last year. Our guy, the Joker, the reigning MVP. And Joel Embiid has been so very dominant, he leads the league in points. You remember in the 90s when you looked at the top 10 scorers and they were littered with centers? Like Shaq and Akeem and Patrick Ewing and David Robinson. That was a different game then. The last time a center led the league in scoring, it was Shaq in 2000. And he's getting boards. He's improved his playmaking. I believe he has a career high in assists. But here's something about the MVP race, and this coming from a voter, by the way. How narrative drives a lot of this as well. And when you put those stats back up there, I want you to pay attention to something. Giannis's stats are just as good, if not better, and his team has a better record, depending on what day it is. Put that back up there for a second. So as the season progresses, there's only 0.2 points. Same boards, and Giannis has more assists. So for me, this is gonna come about standings. And by the way, if this is only about stats, the Joker will win back-to-back, as you see. But since his team isn't in the thick of the Western Conference race today, I have to give the edge to Joel, then Giannis. But Giannis has an opportunity as you look at those standings. Yes, 2.5 games both behind number one spot. So if one of those teams that ever catapult themselves up to the number one spot, Joel Embiid or Giannis Antetokounmpo will be this year's most valuable player.
I agree with you because there's the individual performances, and we looked at the stats a couple times. You see, like, they're all kind of neck and neck as they move into the finish line. However, it's the team performance which is a part of this award. And when you look at Giannis's team and Joel Embiid's team, if they were to finish tight, however, as a voter, I want to ask you this. Is there some Giannis fatigue? He won it back-to-back. He's already won it. Is there a little bit like, let's give it to the new guy? Because historically, it seems like that's how the MVP plays out.
So, yes, narrative has a ton to play with how many people vote. I try to make sure to get away from that and judge by the product I see during the regular season. And the thing I'll tell you is about Giannis is he's consistently dominant like this. So it doesn't look like, oh my God, here comes Giannis for MVP. This is what he always does. For Embiid, it's like, wait a minute, he healthy. Like, this is what it'll look like if he showed up every game and was in shape. And so again, this race is gonna be decided in theory by who finishes the highest in the standings. And usually for voters, Jacoby, the narrative becomes who's perceived to do the most with the least. And as Philadelphia adds James Harden, that's going to hurt that perception for those voters with Joel Embiid because they're going to look at Harden as being better than Middleton and Drew Holiday. So if Embiid and Giannis both continue to be dominant, but the Bucks end up in the number one spot, but yet the Sixers end up in the fourth spot, Giannis may walk away with MVP.
And I'll just mention this quick if you put up the Western Conference standings. With the injury to Chris Paul, there is a long shot, I like to gamble, there's a long shot chance that Draymond comes back, Steph recaptures some of that magic from earlier in the season, they end up as the number one West. That's the only way I could see someone outside of those top three bigs securing the MVP, but I'm not putting my money on it, let's just say that.
Well, I'll just say this. Over the last couple of years, you and I have been on our biggie. Scrambling, gambling at restaurants with mandolins and violins. We gamble on anything now.
Thanks for watching ESPN on YouTube. For live streaming sports and premium content, subscribe to ESPN+.